Hello and welcome to the day one of APAC School Tech Innovation Conclave. It's a two-day conclave, and today is the day one. We had an amazing inaugural session with keynote address from the chairperson of National Institute for Open Schooling by Professor Saroj Sharma and also by Dr. Biswajit Saha, who is the Director for Training and Skill Education, Central Board of Secondary Education, and also we were joined by Mr. Ranbir Singh from Dehradun, who's the Regional Officer of CBSE. Following that, we had some amazing, interesting panel discussion with speakers from across the country and globe, moderated by my colleague, Mr. Sobi Goswami, co-founder with the PAC News Network. My name is Sudhir Gautam. I'm the resident editor and head for South India with the PAC News Network. We have a very important panel discussion with speakers from across the globe. That is the COVID-19. The current pandemic situation has filled the integration of technology, the online learning, digital learning. Now we would like to know what have been the learnings from this online education. To do the honors, we have a moderator and educationist, Dr. Chandrakanta R.Pathak, who is the principal and CEO with HVB Global Academy, from joining us from Mumbai, Maharashtra. Thanks for joining us, Ms. Pathak.
Thank you very much.
We are also joined by Seema, Saini, CEO and Principal NL Dalmia from Mumbai. And we are also joined by Mr. Mukesh Sharma, who is the Chairman and Director Promitheus School. He's joining us from Boston. Thanks for joining, Mr. Sharma. Good morning. And we are also joined by Mr. Tijay Gupta, who is the co-founder and Chief Operating Officer, Bachpan Play School and Academic Height Public School from New Delhi. Thanks for joining us, Mr. Gupta.
My pleasure, sir.
And from the state of Telangana, Hyderabad, we are joined by Pratima Sinha, who is a CEO of DSR Educational Society. Thank you very much, Ms. Sinha, for joining us. And as mentioned, we are also joined by Seema, Saini. Now, this session on learnings from online education will be moderated by Dr. Pathak. Over to you, Dr. Pathak.
Thank you. Let me, in the beginning, only thank the APAC for giving us such a wonderful platform. And I'm sure with my elite panelists, we will have a thorough brainstorming session and wonderful outcome. To begin with it, as an introductory thing, we all are aware that we were forced to go into the online education at a very short span. In the year 2020, we witnessed a black swan event in the form of COVID-19 pandemic that disrupted the tempo of everyday life in every possible way. No facet of life, be it private, personal, social, or professional, has remained unaffected by the pandemic. Many of us have had personal encounters with the disease and the suffering it brings with itself, and many are grief-stricken from the loss of loved ones. My deep condolences to those who are bereaved. It has been and continues to be the cause of immense grief and suffering for many in the country and across the world. However, despite this overwhelming feeling of gloom and doom, we have witnessed communities across the nation showing incredible resilience, solidarity, and fraternity in enduring and overcoming the many unprecedented challenges. The community of educators is one amongst them. In the month of March of the previous year, we witnessed a complete shutdown of the nation's entire educational system. This deprived the students of the teacher guided learning, which is crucial to support their growth and development, especially in their formative years. During this time, we also witnessed an incredible phenomenon. Teachers from various institutions from across the country collaborate in the creation and adoption of various digital infrastructures in a very short span of time to facilitate remote teaching and learning. This required teachers to learn and implement new technologies that they were not even aware of before. This was a remarkable feat. It has been over a year since our schools, colleges, and universities were shuttered. We have since faced numerous challenges and overcome many of them in our endeavor to create feasible and inclusive digital infrastructures to support students' online education effectively. These infrastructures are beginning to emerge as viable solutions to the long-standing problem of access to quality instruction in India. These platforms are rapidly evolving into what many are feeling to as virtual classrooms, equipped with all necessary paraphernalia required to implement the methods of modern pedagogy. Differentiated and self-paced learning have become a real possibility with virtual classrooms. In today's session, we will share our experience and learnings with the intent of gaining a deeper insight into the nature of this digital revolution. This discourse will also help us develop a better understanding of how we might best engage with this revolution to address some of the lingering challenges in education and to bring about positive changes in the classroom practices. I would like to move with the questions to my first panelist, Mr. Tijay Gupta. Sir, impacts of technological progress have always been unpredictable and disruptive. This has been our experience during the lockdown when we were compelled to adopt online modes of education. But as we explored this new medium, we discovered many digital tools that could potentially be used in our regular classroom practice to improve teaching and learning experience. So, in your opinion, are there any such tools and features of online education that you think could be integrated with regular face-to-face classroom practice to enhance the process of teaching and learning? Could you share some of them with us? Mr. Tijay Gupta, please.
Thank you, Pathak ma'am. Thank you, Pak, Sudhirji, Akash, and the entire team for conducting such a wonderful event. With these events, definitely we meet each other. I'm missing all those conferences, and now seminars have been turned into webinars. So take care, but it's again the part of life, so we can't do anything about it. Ma'am, as far as our experience is concerned, we are running both preschool and K-12 schools, and currently teaching more than 1 lakh students across the country. So we have definitely in this last 1 year, we have find out what are the challenges, and same way what are the findings of this pandemic. Frankly speaking, going back to last year, we felt that we have not used the technology in a way we should have used it. It could be because our teachers are not that well aware. It came as a certain surprise to us. COVID came. It could be because we were not that prepared as an organization. technology part was not that good. I think it's with everybody. Maybe Mukesh sir was doing a bit better because he's running an IP school. Maybe because of I'm right. Am I right, Mukesh sir?
Yeah, again, we had our own challenges, but it didn't take us more than 24 hours to get online and
Yeah.
make it happen.
Right. So, based on all those experiences, we have a few findings in terms of online classes. Definitely, we have a lot more tools now which can improve the student-teacher communication. And I can easily say, blending online classroom with the actual classes would be a wonderful concept in the time to come. Nobody knows when the school are going to open. It may be in August, it may be in September, it may be 2022, 23, nobody knows. But whenever they are going to open, our online combining with the classroom sources would be wonderful. I think first of all, students will be finding to learn at their own pace. For example, 5 days a week or 4 days a week or 6 days a week, we have regular classes. And one day, if a teacher is coming on Zoom or if a teacher is appearing at Google Classroom, I think those students which have a slow pace kind of thing, a session can be conducted for them or a special kind of classes or lectures can be conducted with them. Talking about integration, integrating our curriculum into an app or integrating our books into an app with the worksheet would give our student great experience to do what they wish to do at that particular time period. My daughter is in like class sixth, and I find her a little weak in terms of mathematics. Now, with so many apps are there, she put up the questions needed for fraction or integers, and I can, as a parent, observe where she was lacking, where earlier it was not there. I was not physically involved, but now with a single click of app. So I think so many tools have been developed these times. I think thousands of apps have been developed in these times. Even we have developed our own app, and other market apps are available, which have made it easy for a child to integrate with the technology, and also a tool for the parent where they can be more involved in terms of understanding the child learnings, the findings, the struggles, the progress, all those words I use. Another part of technology is that we have find out that assessment tools are now available. Assessment tools, child can opt for them individually. Again, schools are also offering it. So with assessments, again for teachers, easy to see on their screen, or no need to check, no need to see the notebooks. As a traditional teacher, where you are checking 20 pages, 30 pages of notebook, with a single click you can find which all mistake child has done, and based on that we can work out on that pattern. 24 into 7 access to learning material with all apps are available. I think wonderful factor at any point of time. If at my time it was there, I would be pretty much happy keeping notebooks away and opening an app and going 24/7 access with the content material. So I think technology factor wise, we have apps available, we have Zoom, we have Microsoft, we have all the platforms are available, but benefit wise, it's a massive benefit for me. Over to you, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Gupta, for putting your experience so beautifully. I wish to move to my second panelist, Ms. Seema Saini. And my next question goes to you, Ms. Saini. To put newfound tools and abilities to constructive youth, we often need to adopt new ways of thinking and of understanding challenges.
Absolutely.
Education is no exception. Digital technologies enables us a teacher to do a lot more than what she could do in a conventional classroom. Putting the new technologies to good use in the field of education will require us to adopt new attitudes and new ways of thinking. This would inevitably lead to change in the objectives and ethos of educational institutions. So, the question for you is, going forward, how will these newfound tools and abilities reshape the attitudes, objectives, imperatives, and ethos of education in our educational institutions? And how will this help improve the learning experience and learning outcomes. To you, Ms. Sid.
Thank you, Dr. Pathak. Thank you for putting this across. I would definitely like to say we've gone through a time phase, or we're going through right now as well. But last 1 year, the way exponentially the changes that have happened in the field of education and how quickly we are adapting and adopting the situation is something commendable, I must say. Our educational fraternity did not waste any time and immediately has taken on this challenge to see how best can we ensure that learning for our children continues. How best can we ensure that learning not just continues because learning has to continue, but learning continues in a manner which will give us those learning outcomes that we want. And you've really put forward very beautifully with the ethos changing, with the, I wouldn't say the basic outcome of education still remains the same, that we would want education to enable our children become good human beings. Holistic personalities need to be developed. Of course, that objective is very much there. Academic processes in between, that are a must, and that is what schools end up doing. That's a necessary condition that we have to implement. That continues, but in what manner? When we are online with operating remotely, how do we do it in a way that our learning objectives get fulfilled? And this is where I want to say that schools have beautifully adopted. In a span of within this 1 year, we have come to a situation where we are doing even our sports day online. We're doing a science exhibition 100% with 100% participation online. Whether we do our founders day online, cultural programs online, camps online. So we have ended up doing even the camp ranges are, which is an overnight camp. We did it online with our students. So how did this change come about? Because we've rapidly adapted to the situation where we noticed gaps. Initially, with the Zoom platform and with your learning tools, learning management systems, our academic processes went on smoothly. Then we realized, yes, of course, our activities need to be equally important, and ultimately, that's the final objective of education, in school education, particularly creating holistic personalities and giving opportunities to children to be able to not just hone their skills, but also identify the latent talent that they have. And I think the ethos, anytime, anywhere learning, which is enabled, I would say this is an added advantage. This is an icing on the cake. Initially, we were that, okay, should there be video capsules only, or then we go on? And all schools have gone through this with the Zoom live sessions, or in real time, we do the teaching. To now, a situation when I was interacting with a few students to get some feedback during the camp that we had. And some students actually liked studying from home because they had best of both worlds. And they were still not, and according to the child, he was definitely not feeling that he was missing out on anything. But when we as educators come in and we talk about children should have an environment where interpersonal and intrapersonal skills develop, where they engage with other children, I think even that aspect has been taken care of with the online mode, with breakaway rooms and joint projects that students work on. Even that is included. So I would say the virus is going through mutations, but education is going through its own mutations. With the hybrid system that has come in, or which will come in once we reopen, I can very well visualize that very beautifully we will be able to switch to hybrid models as well. Part of the projects, flipped classroom approach, or the projects which are beyond the scope of the curriculum or syllabus, can be done through group projects online. And maybe presentations can happen online, and or even in person. But meaning your curriculum, you have your bandwidth has increased. You can do a lot more now because of the online systems. So even if we open up, you can do your online. That's what I believe in, that we will be able to teach the students in person during those regulated hours, and there would be supplementary things that can go to the student for online method. Online pedagogical systems can also be integrated along with it. Blended approach will very well be there, and there will also be this possibility of this anytime anywhere learning, which has come in already, will be a huge asset for some children. And I think one takeaway is also that the recordings are accessible. When we do these Zoom classes, all the recording is there, and you have a Zoom Pro, then those recordings can be your repertoire is getting ready. That is also something which will be very useful for children, or if especially in higher education, I would say. Students they've not understood something properly. If they have access to it, they can go back to that. If they missed out on something, they can go back to that. So this is a very optimistic and a positive outlook I am taking. Of course, there is another school of thought which would say, what would happen to discipline? What would happen to attendance? What would happen to regularity? And I mean, so as I said, mutations in education
I
too.
know, I know. So everything has its pros and cons, and we have to take the best and move ahead. And I am 100% sure that the future, will be the hybrid model, especially for higher secondary and the upper secondary students, where the practical thing can be done in the school premises and the concept thing can also be taken care by online teaching. Wish to move to my next panelist, Mr. Gupta. Sir, Ms. Saini has put up very beautifully that the how the ethos and everything will be taken care. Mr. Sorry, I'm moving to Mr. Sharma because my first panelist I have already. I'm moving to Mr. Mukesh Sharma. So Mr. Gupta has put up that how beautifully they people have taken care of all this assessment tools and whatever. Decades of research studies have shown that formative assessment, feedback, and testing are essential to make the teaching learning process effective. There are three kind of assessment we take as learning, assessment for learning, and then finally we take assessment of learning. So however, these are highly labor intensive tasks on the part of teachers and require a low student to teacher ratio. Incorporating these in classrooms where the student to teacher ratio is high is impractical. This is one of the factors that has restricted the improvement in the quality of education, especially in Indian schools. So my question to you is, in the context of Indian schools, how could we leverage technology platforms that have emerged recently to enable teachers to incorporate these into their teaching practice when dealing with a large class?
Thank you, Ms. Chandrakanta. Thank you, Mr. Tijay, Ms. Seema. It was pleasure to hear your thoughts on the sudden shift to online learning. In the Indian context, it is going to be a challenge. It is not going to be easy, right? The schools where the teacher to student ratio was even 2025 were finding it difficult to engage students in meaningful manner. Well, the tools are there. You've got Microsoft offering Teams, and Teams providing you as a platform wherein teacher can put up all the resources for the class and students can engage in a meaningful manner. However, when you are online and dealing with 40 students in a classroom, one teacher, it is no easy task. So you can have breakout rooms, you can assign multiple activities, but managing a class of 40 students in physical is way better, way easier than online. You don't even know and you cannot see what the students are doing on their screen. It would appear as if they are paying attention, but they are playing some other game. There are a lot of challenges with this online education, right? So I want to talk about there are a lot of tools that can help make things better. There are tools that would allow you to have control on students device also, so they cannot do anything but pay attention. Now, all said and done, what we have to understand is this is a major shift. While Miss Seema mentioned that in her interaction with the students, they've learned that students are happy with online learning. I have different view, and with due respect to you, what I feel is students are waiting to get back to school.
They
They
are.
are not loving it. There are number of students who've gone into depression, who keep their room lights dim and don't want to get out. You know, Parents have no idea what is going on. While the tools are there, but how much time does a parent get to go and see what is their child doing? Now, so again, there are different aspects. The first one being what kind of tools can teachers use to meaningfully engage students and bring in all the learner profiles in it. For example, collaboration. How can I encourage students to collaborate and and come up with ideas that encourage students to participate and collaborate? So as long as the content of the class is interesting, intriguing, students are going to pay attention, right? TV was always so, in K-12 schools, you've got lower primary, you've got primary, you've got upper primary, you've got middle school and secondary. And every level has its own challenges, right? How do you make it interesting for lower primary? What kind of, if you play a video, parents are going to say, well, we can play a video at our home. What are you teaching? Right? So teachers at Promitheus School, they came up with creative ideas, right? Creative ideas which included engaging students, parents also, by saying, I am going to have my learning space created. So teacher created something, and then showed it to the students. Students were made to celebrate certain aspects of different religions, different days that are celebrated, right? So how do you do that? So for middle school and all, there are a lot of tools. For example, Edpuzzle. Edpuzzle allows teachers to pick up YouTube videos on whatever concept that they're trying to make students understand. And on those videos, the teachers can insert questions, and student can take the assessment, right? So that Edpuzzle is very effective, and I would encourage each one of you to have a look at it. There is a challenge that comes in a classroom where you have 40 to 50 students. How many questions can you ask? You are asking a question, and students, they are chatting and figuring out what is the answer, right? How do you control that? So there are tools like Paper Scorer, and I funded a company called Paper Scorer. Paper Scorer allows you to create set of questions. Students would not know what is the response or what is the answer. So it's a multiple choice questions and all. You can create it and give it to students and have them take the assessment, take the picture, and it auto assesses it. There are tools like AI Test Bank, artificial intelligence powered question generator. So you have a story, you have read a story to students. Now you want to know how many of the students actually were paying attention, right? It is difficult in a virtual mode. There are only a few who would raise hand, and you can have your own discipline using these tools like Team and Zoom to manage the class, to take students in a breakout room and have 101. But when you take one student in a breakout room, what is happening with 39 in the class? It's a mess, right? So how do you control all that? So there is all this shift to online has actually and this is in my personal opinion, put a lot of pressure on teachers to effectively engage students, right? And to come up with creative ways to be able to manage the class in an effective manner, so that there are learning outcomes. What AI Test Bank does is it allows teachers or educators to be able to give the content to AI Test Bank engine, and it automatically generates question. And you can decide as a subject matter expert what questions you select, and then you assign it to the team through the learning management systems and all. One of the advantages that I had coming from IT background, um, I was blessed to have worked with, even today, I work with Harvard Education, Harvard University, Oxford University Press, all the publishing majors like Pearson Education, Macmillan Learning, Cengage Learning. They were all my clients for last 19 years, and that allowed us to gain the deep insight into learning management systems. The tools that we are thinking of now in last 1.5 years were the ones that we've been testing for last 18 years. Because in United States, they had digital classrooms, they had digital learning management systems like Blackboard, Canvas, a lot of tools that are already out there. So again, in the Indian context, what is it? What are the tools that would work out for teachers to be able to effectively manage the class? Miss Seema talked about access to videos that Zoom or these softwares provide, MS Teams. If I were a student and I have to search a particular video, how would it work? It's a file name. You won't be able to search. How do you search videos from a particular class on a particular topic? That is a challenge in the Zoom and MS Teams. So what we did, and this is within a month of going online in last 2020. So April, we launched something called Promitheus OTT, over the top video platform, which is more like Netflix, but it is only for our class. So whatever our teachers are teaching in the class, whatever that is covered in the class is available on Prometheus OTT .fundu.com, phandu.com. You go in there, student would be provided access to it, teacher would have access to it. So if you recall, I talked about a point wherein teacher is having conversation with a student in a breakout room on a particular question that the student asked. What is it that the other students are doing? So teacher would basically give them instruction that, while I am speaking with the Mr. or Miss X, please take this time to work on this, and I'm going to monitor it, right? How would she know? Either she plays the video. How, is there a way for the senior management, for the coordinators to be able to see what was covered in the class, to be able to go back to the good ones, to be able to highlight and mark? So those kind of video platforms that Fundu offers are a big help. There is a tool called Flipgrid. Flipgrid is basically a platform that allows teachers to create the workspaces wherein they can ask questions or topics, and students can pose their responses. So teachers would have to use technology effectively, especially during this pandemic, which is which has forced us to be only delivering sessions online. So if there is a right mix of tools and meaningful engagement, I think even a class that has 40 students can be managed, but it's not an easy task. What we had done into 2020 was, wherever we had 20, because we started our school in 2019 on September 30th, right? And come March, we had to move online. We had 50 students. Now we have 250 students. During the pandemic only, we've grown. But the challenge was, how do we meaningfully engage students when we have teachers, and teacher student ratio was 1:20, and we had a co-tutor also, because we are an IB school, right? An IB word school, you have a tutor and you have a form tutor and you have a co-tutor, assistant tutor. How do you leverage the assistant tutor in these sessions? So we ended up creating class of 10 to 12, so that students are engaged. And in IB schools, one of the things that is given importance is, it is inquiry based learning. You have to have, you have to encourage students to ask questions. But in online, everybody has questions. How do you manage the little ones? Their parents are watching, right? I mean, these are challenges. Their parents are watching, and they are saying, "Oh, you always answer Miss Seema's question, but you never take the question from Mr. Tijay," right? And these are the kind of observations that would come, especially in primary, where there is only one child who is always, very inquisitive and meaningful.
I believe, Mr. Sharma, we have to agree. I think in totality that at the moment, parents are our valuable partners in learning and teaching process as of now.
Absolutely.
And I completely agree with you that somewhere down the line, I think the physical schooling cannot be replaced by online, but at the same time, online teaching has come very handy, especially during these situations. And I'm sure it has a couple of positive things which we should use in a longer run
Oh,
in the
absolutely.
form of a hybrid module.
Absolutely.
So I completely take your point, and Ed Puzzle and all are beautiful tools which can be utilized not only now during pandemic, but even in near future.
Oh, absolutely.
With this, I move to the next panelist, Ms. Pratima Sinha. Madam, you are listening to this conversation quite well, and we all wish to continue and use the technology. But some of the concerns that have emerged from our experience of online education is the possibility of students being exposed to inappropriate content on the internet, and the possibility of hacking, which could pose a threat to students' privacy and safety. So my question to you is, what precautions could we take to prevent students from being exposed to inappropriate content, and to address the issue of threat to privacy and safety of the students?
Thank you, Dr. Pathak, and good evening, all the panelists, and thank you, R.Pathak, for inviting me. Ma'am, this is a very, very crucial question, which I feel that we really need to talk about. Yes, right now we are talking about, and it has become part, we cannot say it is going to be or it can be, but it is online teaching and technology usage has become part of our daily lives. But I agree with Mr. Sharma about the fact that today senior teachers, especially senior teachers, are facing a lot of issue because children, they do not come onto the classes, and there are other issues that they're facing. Could be depression, or because they're not able to, maybe they're interacting with their friends. I came to know yesterday there's something called a Discord. So I was told by my grandson that, he's connecting with other students with something called Discord. So I told first, is it Disco? He said, no, it is Discord, where he can, talk to his friends because they cannot move out from their flats and houses. So daily technology and is really moving fast. The world is moving very fast. And somewhere we have this question always at the back of our mind, that how safe it is for our children to use it. Yes, we are moving forward. We are looking forward to hybrid learning. We are looking forward to online classes because that's what the new norm is. But what is it that we are looking at now? USA has got an act called COPA for children online privacy protection. But in India, as of now, there is nothing substantial that we can talk about. That is one thing. Now, there is a lot of concerns that are raised on predators, online predators, phishing, and bullying that is happening. Online bullying has become like a new norm again, I would say. I've seen so many students who are actually going through it, but they don't open their mouth. They don't say anything because they're scared to tell their parents, they're scared to tell their teachers, they're scared to tell their peers. Now, this is what is happening because they are kind of restricted to their own room. Schools have brought in counselors which now are talking to these students separately. I don't know how much difference it would be making, but yes, today a counselor's job has also become very, very important because students do need a lot of counseling. I would also say that after the physical school starts, again the counselor's role will be very important because the counselor will have to tell the children now you have to start mixing with your peers. Today they are sitting in the room and doing everything, but tomorrow it will be physically, they'll be meeting everybody. So especially preschools and all who have never met the other students, children and all that. So that is another part of counseling. Of course, that is separate. But in recent times, there have been about YouTube actually has been fined about $170 million in US for illegally collecting personal information of the students. Now, this actually made me really think about it, that do we have something like that in India? But we do not have. So a responsibility of us educators is now to push this forward, that we need to have proper acts, we need to have proper information, we need to have proper laws for the usage of online information. Of course, all the schools are generally counseling the parents, they're generally counseling the teachers, they're generally counseling the students to understand the proper behavior for online usage. But as Mr. Sharma said, that today the parent also may not have time. I've seen that both the parents are working online, they don't have time to see what their child is doing. So it's a constant fight, it's a constant process that we have to keep on counseling our students. They need to know the right way, they need to know the right path, they need to know the right direction to take, where to stop, how to stop. So these are the things that really we need to work on. But still, I feel that India is still lagging behind in this. I remember we had in our schools actually taken software which was, there are a lot of schools which take pirated software also, which leads to a lot of issues. So I'd ensure that, all the pirated software was thrown out and we took the authentic one. So there are lots and lots of things that we can actually check out when we talk about safety of online usage by the child. I would say that we need to make our children understand the responsibility and the safety of using online classes or online sessions or research. Parents, I think, can block some of the I think they can block certain software where children need not will not be able to see the adult material.
So you mean to say that the parental supervision at home will also be equally
It is very important, ma'am, Dr. Pathak.
yeah.
Parental supervision is very important. Teachers need to also understand that this is very important. If they feel sometime that the child is lagging behind and there's something going on. If the parent feel that, there's something going on, the child is all the time on the net and all, they need to really check out. Of course, we have to have a lot of resources, the right resources to come and speak to our children, sessions with our children. So all these things have to be really, but the act has to come into picture, which our government has to really, really do.
Thank you, Ms. Pratima. Dear panelists, you all have put up your views beautifully. For the second round of question, I just have 8 minutes. So I request each one of you to be little alert, not to take more than 2 minutes. And I move to my panelist, Mr. Tijay Gupta, with the next question. Sir, aside from the threat from outside force, such as hackers, unwarranted, third-party solicitors, students also face threats from themselves. Technology gives students an, inordinate degree of freedom and makes it easier for them to evade their responsibilities and obligations and indulge in activities that compromises the integrity of the entire education process. We have experienced many instances of student-led mischief during our online classes, what you people were also talking, online bullying, etc. At times, these mischief turn into serious disciplinary issues that harm students and disrupt education. Discipline and accountability is the key of effective teaching and learning and to proper functioning of any educational institution. So my question to you is, what possible measures could we adopt to keep in check such disciplinary issues?
Right. Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, first of all, are not there any disciplinary issues when we have physical schools? There are. As a teacher, I'm trying as like a teacher. As a teacher, I need to be little patient because earlier also these things are bound to happen. In a class, we have 40 odd students, 50 odd students. 1, 2, 3 students are always bound to do something or the other. So first of all, our self patience or self realization is required that I am a teacher and this is my class and this is nothing new which I am doing. It is something like same. This we have felt last year. I am telling you that teachers are like not adapting it that way to put the distractions away. Say a student in a class is putting up a distraction not by not answering or by leaving the class. No problem. You have 35, 36 students. There are other students in the class who wish to study. So put a distraction away. First thing is that, and get back with the class. Maybe after the class is over, we can think about other students. Secondly, this webcam we are using or our cameras which we are using, treat it like a person. This is not a camera. This is something like a person. If we treat it like a person, I think we can engage ourselves. The recipe of perfect classes would be there. Smile, respect, politeness, all these can be done on a webcam also. And I think students love all of them. All of them, you are teachers. In fact, I'm not a teacher. I'm not taken any class, but I think this is what our student is looking at. One interesting thing I'll tell you, we used to have a dress code in our school, but it was only for the student. 30% time, teachers doesn't come with a proper dress code. So how I'll say that she or he is a teacher? So there should be a dress code for the teachers. Again, we felt about that. If we add virtual cues, or we can add virtual elaborations in our content, I think that can help students a lot. If a teacher is just speaking 30 minutes or 25 minutes or 20 minutes, that for me is a boring class. If we have some presentations, if we have some virtual enhancement, definitely it will help you
out. Thank you so much. Ms. Saini, I would like to put my next question to you. Access to quality education in our country has been restricted to few pockets in urban areas mainly. One of the primary reasons for this is the dearth of well-trained teachers, most of whom are concentrated in urban areas. The lack of quality education inevitably results in unemployability and many socio-economic problems. This is one of the major challenges we face in India today. So, my question to you is, how might we use recent technological innovations to bring quality education to the grassroots across the entire country? More specifically, how could technology be used to enable trained teachers to deliver quality instructions to students in remote areas?
Thank you. Thank you for your question. And you've rightly put, we have this huge challenge of socioeconomic disparities and socioeconomic problem in the country. Two Indias, urban India and rural India. We know there are network issues. We know, the haves and the have-nots, and what is available to the children to carry on with their education. There is this huge, huge gap and disparity. But I think, there is always a silver lining around things. Like earlier for my earlier question also, what I meant was students, of course, are missing school, waiting to get back to school. But the silver lining around that was that this anytime anywhere learning, being with friends, being at home, doing what you have to do, and also being they were making the best of both. Similarly, right here as well, I feel technology or online teaching learning processes can be a huge boon to the country. I'm using the word can be. And it is like we have the trained resources in the urban areas. We just need to be a little more innovative on how this can reach. Now, I don't have to pack my bags and go to some interior part of Madhya Pradesh or Uttar Pradesh or Rajasthan or Karnataka or any other state in the country for that matter. Right here, if I have expertise in some, or get the best of speakers for our children, even in the rural areas, ignite some thought in their minds. But how do we make it accessible remotely is a huge opportunity. Only thing, the government, I'm sorry to pull this factor in, but we have to understand that the stage is the economy, the political aspect also comes in, the governance comes in, and how can we make this available to our children? Maybe through Zilla Parishads, maybe the community school can come in to set up a big TV there, have a proper bandwidth created for the students, let the children come to school. I mean, I know the pandemic is there, but maybe with all those norms, at least it is available to them. Because of the disparity, you can't expect every home having a desktop. And how much would a phone also do ultimately? So maybe here the government needs to put a plan in place to be able to give these resources, this expertise to our children in the rural area. Abdul Kalam, our ex-president, one of the most prominent presidents of the country, was a fisherman's son from the remote part, and he was a rocket man of India. So, I mean, what I mean to say is we just need to ignite one spark in the mind of a child. We can have so many more Abdul Kalams and Kalpana Chawlas, or, that can be created. We have the potential because of the online. But I just wish we are able to put it together.
I completely agree that we have the talent in not only in urban areas, also in remote areas.
Yes.
It is a very difficult task only for government to do. I think public and private and government partnership will let us, move to the to make sure that we achieve our goal. With that, I move to my next panelist, Mr. Mukesh Sharma. I have just 3 minutes in my hand, so a quick one. Sir, to use these technological innovations to enhance learning experience on a large scale, we must ensure that people across the country have access to the required technology. During the pandemic, we have learned that of stark disparities in access of these technologies among rural and urban populations. And this limits the potential benefits that technology has to offer in the field of education. So, what role public and private educational institutions, ed tech companies, government policies, government agencies play here to remedy these logistic and accessibility issues? A quick response.
Thank you. What I would say is that we have evolved. We have evolved. There is a lot that has happened. If you think about how mobiles are in hands of folks in rural area also, that is essentially what we need to see happening for both infrastructure wise. If somebody has a laptop, I donated laptop to one of my household help, but that laptop alone didn't work because their child required internet connection also. They were using phone to connect. So again, there is a lot that needs to be done at the government level. I think what they should do right away is allow corporates to to put the funds to CSR funds, which is corporate social responsibility funds, to the use of helping provide specific devices which have the content already downloaded on the devices. And with that, so let's say we were talking about videos which have sessions, so sessions, classroom sessions. So if we have a device, and companies that have budgets for CSR, if they start to give those devices with the classroom sessions on it to the folks in rural area, that would be the quickest way. But at the government level, we have to make sure that they work towards no child left behind education policy. So every child has right to education. Given the pandemic, that right has been taken away from those who are in rural areas. How can we make it happen? If public and private come together, working directly with the government, coming with the policies to enable folks in rural area to be able to get online.
Oh.
If I have 30 more seconds, I wanted to add something to Ms. Pratima's
Actually,
comment.
sir, I am already out of time. And in fact, I wanted to have one concluding remark from each one of you. But I think that is difficult. So with your permission, I would like to move to Ms. Pratima Sinha. Madam, in fact, I wish that now I want that concluding remark from you on behalf of everyone, that what important lessons should we take away from this experience about how to best prepare for future crises and challenges that are unknown to us, and as leaders in the field of education, how should we view our roles in regard to enabling innovative solutions in times of such crisis?
Dr. Pathak, as we are all educationists, I think we need to think about the future first. I felt that we were actually sitting back and enjoying ourselves, and we didn't realize that this pandemic will hit us. Now we have understood that we have a major role to play. We have a big responsibility on our shoulders, and we have to really think of the future of our students. So what is going, actually, you know what, I've started preparing actually a 5-year developmental plan for the school just for technology. So this is what we have to think, foresee, and think of the future, and think of the innovations that may come in, and all those science fiction movies that we used to see. I'm sure those will happen, and we have to be prepared for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, dear panelists. I personally feel that COVID-19 pandemic has caused massive disruption in country's education system. However, it has also ushered in a digital revolution in education that could potentially enrich teaching learning experience by making it more differentiated and inclusive. It could also help us address some of the long-standing and seemingly intractable problems in our education system. However, as it always happens, novel solutions bring with them novel questions and challenges. The major question and challenges that arise here pertain to adequate teacher training. That is what most of you have said. security and privacy issues, disciplinary and accountability issues, disparity in the access to device and the internet, and the lack of digital infrastructure for education in the country. A major hurdle in resolving these issues comes from the mind boggling range of diversity in communities across India. The social, cultural, educational, and technological challenges that communities face are various and unique. These challenges cannot be resolved by one size fits all type of solutions. Instead, we must start locally at adopting new technologies and methods in our own practice and institutions. How Ms. Pratima has said that she has already started working on a 5-year plan. So that should be done as a visionary. It is also crucial to share our experiences and learnings and to collaborate to find best possible solutions to the unique challenges we face. Over time, such collaboration and cooperation will result in organic evolution of a viable digital infrastructure tailored to meet the unique needs of our students and institutions. I would like to close this session by reiterating that we are witnessing here a remarkable revolution in education that is poised to change the way we interact, learn, and teach. We have achieved remarkable feats in the previous year by adopting new modes of teaching in very short time amid a severe crisis. And this has shed light on the latent potential that exists in the teachers' community. So, a big round of applause for our teachers. We need to find ways to nurture this potential and put it to the best use. With this, I wish you all the best. Stay safe and stay healthy. May God bless each one.
Dr. Pathak, I would also like to add on that I think we should feel very proud that we are seeing this innovations happening. We are part of it and we are the change makers here. So I think we should
No
be
doubt.
really
We should be
proud of it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
No doubt. No doubt.
Absolutely right, Mr. Sinha, and also Mr. Pathak. You rightly said the teachers community, the teaching community stood up and lived up to the expectation. The sudden change that COVID-19 pandemic has pushed in, the much needed integration of technology, online education was needed. I'm glad in this particular session, a lot many aspects were touched upon besides the inappropriate content. I'm glad the disparity between the socio-economic differences, the rural India, the education in rural India was also discussed. I'm glad about that. I would like to thank Dr. Chandrakanta Pathak for wonderfully moderating this session and bringing the holistic aspect to this session. A round of applause for to Dr. Pathak. And I'm glad Pratima Sinha, CEO, DSR Educational Society from Hyderabad, Telangana, joined us. Thank you, ma'am. And Miss Seema Saini, CEO, Principal with NL Dalmia Educational Society from Mumbai, Maharashtra, joined us. Thank you. Mr. Mukesh Sharma from Boston, who is the Chairman and Director for Promitheus School, has joined us. Thank you very much. Early morning you have joined us, Mr. Sharma.
Thank you.
And also, last but not the least, Mr. Tijay Gupta, co-founder and Chief Operating Officer, Bachpan Play School and Academic Heights Public School from New Delhi, joined us and shared the rich experience, the challenges that we are facing, and in a constructive manner, we can move forward with the digitization of education in Digital India mission. With this, I would like to tell that we would be documenting this very valuable discussion in the form of our conclave report of this innovation, school tech innovation conclave, which would be reaching to you soon. With this, I would like to thank each and every one, the speakers and the audience who have joined us through various platforms, social platforms. We conclude the day one of APAC School Tech Innovation Conclave, and tomorrow with a few more interesting panel discussion, we would be coming to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.